And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I am your sensei, Owl Bob, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Owl Bob. And I'm a shamanic, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropologic alchemist that uses the tool of being a griot. Oh, I gotta take this off. Today was a cold one. It went down to 29 last night. But nothing froze, and the sun is out, and there's no snow on the ground or frost. um, so it's all good. Uh, so, what are we talking about today? First off, I want to tell you that this show is simply here for your fun, entertainment, you know, and your abilities of being a griot. So give me some of those thumbs up, get some people to subscribe, and go to my Gmail account, the Dude Awake 42 at Gmail, and I have a PayPal there, so you can leave me something. And all, I'd love to hear from you, and also comments of these videos. If you don't have a dartboard, get one and throw darts at it until you get three numbers, and then take that number and see um, what video you want to watch. I have almost 700, if not more, shows, and they're all valuable, right? And I would say you should start taking these down on thumb drives, hard drive. You can take it; it's public. I leave it up there for you. Other people have, so you don't have to worry about anything. Just take it down for your own sake. And so, don't believe anything I say. Check it out. And so, what are we talking about? We're talking about magic. And the old crone basically said magic is not free. And that the only way that you can get through life is to serve, right? And some people serve evil and Satan and Lucifer and money, and which is all the same thing. And some serve love's co-creation to in every day and every way take the peace of the earth and make it stronger. And that's what we're here to do here on Dreamy Dreamland, to entertain and give you an opportunity to have a choice, because right now we have no choice. We are living in the last days of a neoliberal society. We're not, thank you, dearest. What is democracy? Well, it's sure not what we got. We live, and what is a corporate? We live in capitalism. So what is that? It means we live in a corporate state, right? The state, was set up by our founding fathers, and they're the corporation, you know. And every time one of our political leaders gets, you know, a conscience, they kind of get murdered. And good old Washington, he basically died of a cold. Right? He went out surveying the plantation, and it was raining, and he came back and he had dinner. He didn't change his clothes or warm up, so he caught a cold. And he landed up in bed, and his doctors, three doctors, each coming, and they each bled him till he died. He didn't die of a cold. He died of, losing blood. Again, don't believe a word I say. Go check it out. And basically, all the great scientific breakthroughs we're having today are old news. The Greeks knew about this. The Babylonians knew about everything that we're talking about. They knew about dark matter. They knew about 0 point energy. They knew about it all, right? You leaving us?
Leaving you. Yeah. You have a good day.
You too, baby. I'll try. So I can just waltz in and have brisket tomorrow, right?
Huh?
I can just walk in and have brisket
Well,
tomorrow.
you needed to know if you want to put it.
My
For
name on the
sure.
list.
Put your name on the list of that.
Okay. But if I don't show up, I won't get shot.
I don't know. I guess it's just probably a general thing because if you're
Right.
doing
It depends.
a day,
It depends on how much rain is supposed to rain tomorrow. It's a rainy day. I'm just gonna stay.
Stay in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What time does that start?
5.
5. Okay.
At the 8.
Okie doke. And that's the other thing. At night I can't drive too well.
Can't you?
I can't see, so it's
5 to 6 or
Yeah,
30,
yeah,
5
yeah.
to 6:30.
okay.
Because it was still. We had a dinner at 5:30. I think it was still daylight.
Right. Okay. When do they switch to when they fall behind?
I don't know.
Do you remember back?
Somebody was telling Richie that maybe they wouldn't do that.
Do you remember back in the day when Nixon, during the oil embargo, got rid of falling back? You don't remember that? It lasted for 10 years.
I don't know. We didn't used to do it because our family that we come from Ohio would be talking about it at a different time. And so we didn't used to have it.
Right.
Change times from when I was growing up.
Right.
So I don't know.
See? Well, a lot of people don't remember things. A lot of people don't remember things.
I remember things pretty
No, I mean, there's a thing called the Mandela effect, where things kind of just change.
Yeah.
And half the people remember what it used to be, and then the other, oh no, it's always been this way.
Yeah.
Either for advertising or who knows what.
Yeah. Yeah. There's things that you do just inside.
Right. Yep.
Things that stick in your mind, maybe because it affects you more.
Oh, yes, because it was personal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why those songs when we were in high school get stuck in our head, because it was personal.
And now Richard and I could start singing when I'll finish it. That's a part of our life. You know?
Right. Well, that's the way it should be. Yep. And that's a sweet lady who is my neighbor, right? And that's why I live here, because they're nice and sweet. She's like 90 and she still has to work. And, you need to go watch Chris Hedges' Death of the Liberal Class. It's on YouTube. Hey, Hayden, Alan, good to see you guys. So we're talking about basically the death of the liberal class and what neoliberalism is. And neoliberalism is, we have neocons, neoconservatives, and neoliberalism. And they're two wings of the same corporate bird. And that corporate bird has been around since Babylon, right? That's when they invented, the utilization of fractionalization of money and lending, right? And that's why Jesus would have never been nailed to the cross. There were plenty of guys out in the hinterlands bringing people back from the dead. I mean, John the Baptist was one of those guys. I mean, everyone thought he was going to be the new savior. He met Jesus, and then Jesus knelt down and washed his feet. And that's when, okay, this guy's the real deal. And the only reason Jesus got whacked was that he threw the money changer out of the temple, and so I had to get rid of him. It's putting. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, instead of having empathy, but how hard? I'm a homeless guy, so I should, empathize with everyone, right? Which I do, but there's still points when, I'm rushing around doing something. Some guy taps me on the shoulder, man, you got any money? And I go, "Urgh." But then I have to go, okay. And I put my hand in my pocket and I'll last of whatever I got and give it to him. Say, this is everything I got in the world. Oh man, I can't do that. I said, oh, yes, you can. You need it. So, capitalism, what did Marx say? It's like capital, runs the show, pays for the factory. Neoliberalism. What happened, 1980, that's when, in the last 40 years, things have like, whew. And it started before that, when Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard, right? So why did Richard Nixon start the EPA and all of these environmental and social things? Because he needed to amortize what America had left, and that was land. And so he put all of those things into conservatives owned by banks that now own the land. And all of these catastrophes that are going on in California, they are depopulated. Go look up a lady. It's called stopthecrime.net. And I think her first name is Diane. And this lady was, a real estate person, really smart, was making loads of money. And then, whole neighborhoods of hers got wiped out. And this house and this house and this house left totally alone. And, whole cities were obliterated, but the grass and the trees weren't even touched, and the roads weren't full of crap. So it's like, and the stuff burnt too. I mean, the only thing that, like, I used to be a fireman, right? And whenever a structure burned, complete loss, there'd still be things like chimneys and washers and stoves and, heavy metal things, big clunky things. In the California fires, nothing was all gone, except organic matter. You know? So she started to put the dots together, and so you go look at that, right? And Steven Spielberg, all his movies, he's totally owned by the powers that shouldn't be, and he's giving everyone the heads up, like the movie Single Player or First Player, whatever the player, and everyone lives in these cities that they're just like rats in a maze, and they've all got the goggles on because they're living in augmented reality, so they don't get really pissed off. And Austin Fitz is also great. Used to be head housing urban. Yeah. I read and I know of him. So Catherine Austin Fitz. Yeah, that girl she's right on. Zeller, or I mean, she really doesn't kid around. Her, Joseph P. Farrell, those two guys. Also, who's the guy about? It's kind of a chunky boy. I mean, I shouldn't, say that because I used to look bigger than that guy. Starts with a J, but he goes on about law, about admiralty law and civil law and corporate law. I used to, work for desperate lawyers. Jordan Marshall, I think. Jordan is the first name, right? And the information's out there. Just go Google it, and it's right there. As long as So, and it goes back, LBJ. So, I mean, all of this, it's historical, economic, environmental, psychosocial, cultural, forensic, anthropology. All of that is put on a frame and comes in chunks, right? And that's how historians look at it, right? And what is historians but his story? So, Jordan Maxwell, hey, Alan, we read the same stuff. And so have you read Chris Hedges? I really like him. And Jimmy Dore is on YouTube. He's really good. And Joe Rogan, Jimmy Dore is all in. Joe Rogan, I think he's like the Steven Spielberg of the YouTube. Meaning he brings on some really great people. He asks some interesting questions, but he never goes that extra mile. Like Donald Trump, Donald Trump will be remembered as like a great president, right? Because he is basically exposing everything. When he goes fake news, he's not kidding around. The powers that shouldn't be have owned the media since it's existed. Every war the United States has ever gotten in was gotten in by the Herald Tribune, the Hearst Enterprises, and Pulitzer newspapers. I don't know why people are so proud to have a Pulitzer Prize. It's like, why would you be proud of having a Nobel Prize? Because Mr. Nobel, industrialized warfare to the point that instead of just thousands of people dying, millions of people died. Yep. Confessions of Economic Hitman. Yeah. And I was kind of one of those guys, but I didn't do what he did. I met that guy at a couple of conferences back in the day. And I was the guy who was in the library looking stuff up. And I thought I could just nudge them one way or the other to, not bring us to where we are now. Because, I had a teacher, what was his name? He taught at Georgetown. Quigley. Go read Quigley. Go look up Quigley. Right. And one of fellow students was a guy who wrote a book called None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. Now, those two guys, the guy who wrote Economic Hitman, he wrote that because A, he wanted to make some money. B, he felt guilty. Did he give all his millions back? Did he sell his houses and put homeless people in smaller, nicer houses? But it's still a good book for people who don't know to know. But Quigley goes deeper. He goes into the CFR and into all of the hidden hands. Right? And his greatest book, I think, was called Hope and Tragedy. And like I said, None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. It's another really good one. And so nothing that, first of all, don't believe me. I'm just telling you a story here. But everything that you think is true is false. I was just looking for, there's a really good movie, when, what's his name? Sean Connery, quit being 007 because he didn't want to get typecast. And in the 70s, he did a bunch of really interesting movies, like Zardoz. Go see Zardoz. That's, Wizard of Oz spelled backwards. And that's exactly what's going on right now. That movie was made in like 74 or 5 or 3. And it's about 20 years from now, or 5 years from now. Quigley said 2020 was the year to look at. That was when things should hit the fan. And I keep talking about this window of opportunity, right? Because the people who are the most weakest are the people who think they're in power. They really don't have a clue. Problem with winter is that I have to button things up so tight that whatever dust or crap is in my little box, mold, kind of gets in me. But with prayer, you can get rid of it. Morning twitch. Hey, fish. So let's say a little prayer. First of all, everyone, put yourself in even if you're at work, you can sit down so you don't fall down. Put yourself in a comfortable position. Close your eyes. Breathe that 20% in, 30% out. Brittany, good to see you, girl. Woke up early to catch you. Yeah, live again. Good to see you. We're talking about the magic bullet and the hidden hand and the powers that shouldn't be and the sock puppets who are the poster boys. People like Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, that guy. He couldn't even write a word of, a line of code. Steve Jobs. These are all people who could be put on stage, and people could point at them and blame them, right? Because Facebook and the smartphone were invented in the 40s, by so was cell phones. The woman who played Scarlett in that movie about the South was was an electrical engineer from Yugoslavia, and she wanted to be an electrical engineer, and she went to RCA and General Electric and all those guys and Motorola, and they just laughed at her. And the guy at Motorola said, "Well, you're gorgeous. You should just go down the street, get in the movies." And she did. World War II comes around, and they needed every engineer they could. So they she being a star, said, "Well, I'm going to do my bit for America, my new home country." And she, you know, invented cell phones. You know, because as the guys were landing on the beach, the admiral and general back couldn't talk to the sergeant on the ground, so they were losing a lot of people. So she figured out how to wire everyone's radio together, a cell phone. So one little walkie-talkie would talk to the next, to the next, to the next, the big radio in the boat to the going back to where the guys were. And she invented, for Motorola, cellular phones. And if you look at this stuff like I used to, you just keep bouncing, cutting across all these whoa, look at that. Just like when I unearthed, when I got invited to be part of the U.S. Psychotronic Society, and that got me into Christine got me into the IEEE, and that got me, those two things got me into being, and also being from Cooper Union, we reinvented the best wind turbine. It isn't those big pinwheels in the sky. It's a barrel close to the ground. And the vanes are all the way around the barrel. And so, because the wind moving down here is of more density, stronger, right? Especially put them out in the plains amongst the cornfields. Just about 10 feet above the corn husks, and the sucker goes this way. So the engineering part is you put the generator down here and you put the thing up here. So there are no gears, no anything. Whereas in a pinwheel, you got all kinds of Rube Goldberg stuff. And if the wind, so those vanes around the barrel can move in and out. And when it's like hurricane force, it closes it down. So the wind just goes around the barrel. Whereas those pinwheels in the sky get torn down. And that's why they picked it, because it's really a very inefficient way. Meaning, back in the day when Tesla built the first alternating, when he did the Niagara project and juiced from Niagara Falls to New York City, first Albany, New York City, on alternating current, that was the end of Edison, DC. And Morgan just told Edison, "Good, we'll pay it. Don't worry about it, and we'll make you the Wizard of Monroe, and we'll get everyone to forget Tesla." And so, and that's all Edison was interested in, was money and his name to be remembered. So, just like Donald Trump, all Donnie's interested in is himself, money, and his name to be remembered. And he is being, if he doesn't have a wire in his brain, I don't know. He's like those monkeys that have the electrodes in there. And because, he got the job because he had a TV show called The Apprentice. And who was he being apprenticed for? But he was apprenticing to be the president, right? You're fired. That's all he's done the whole friggin' time he's there. Everybody who's running, why the government is falling apart is that he has nobody running it. He hasn't filled any positions. He keeps getting the money come into their coffers, and then it takes it sideways to some, who knows. But, with the fall, so we had World War II, which, World War I put us in the driver's seat. World War II had us, owning the car. And then we just kept having these little wars, killing this, having assassins here, coups there, just making the world safe for capitalism, and that's what FDR said. Said, I didn't save America, I saved capitalism. So I'm going to get more hot water. So you talk amongst yourselves and start breathing that 20% because we're going to go visit the crone and have her explain things. I'll be right back. Look at the art. What do you think, Twitch? So what do you think, Twitch? I like it because it's kind of organic. Right? It's made by a little old lady down down on the corner. Hey, Mr. Infinity. Uh, no, I didn't paint him. Like I said, this little old lady down the street did. And I think she's somewhat related to the owner. So instead of having just a blank wall, you can put them up there. So it's nice. A couple of them sold. About $75 a pop. My paintings are, I got into painting by learning to do sets, set painting, doing trompe l'oeil. And then in the 70s in Soho, because I did these big things, and I got my hands on this great stuff that was like photo paper, but it was paint. You could paint it on a wall. I had to do it under a red light bulb, and then you could expose an image onto it and then develop it on the wall. And so I used to do that all over New York. I'd find dark corners, and that would be seen by people, or that I could turn the lights off. And back in the day when I did that kind of artwork, there were no TV cameras everywhere, so you could get away with things. And my good friend Keith Haring became rich and famous because we did that kind of stuff together. He was really good organic. He would just scribble these things in the subway things. They would put advertisements, right? And they were like, they had a frame around them. The whole wall was butcher block tile, so they could hose the place down, but they'd have these squares that they could put a poster on. And when there wasn't a space being rented, they put black paper. So Keith would go there with white chalk and go, and had a nice frame around it. Millions of people saw this stuff. After a year of doing this, people were going, who the heck is this guy? And then he told the news, and the cops said, hey, you want to catch this guy? He'll be at such and such a station at such and such a time. And he did. And all the TV guys got him, the newspaper guys, the New York Post, He got a fine, and then OK Harris picked him up and made him rich and famous. Keith was great. We are synchronized. Yes, we are. And that's because we have the chorus, we have the cadre. So we are that collective pebble in the pond making the wave. Because we should have been toast a long time ago, but we're not. But we have this opportunity in the next 14 months, And in November, it'll be 13 months. So, so what has happened to all our manufacturing in this country is that all of the companies, like Apple is a very good example. Here's a company, one of the larger ones, one of the large manufacturing companies in the world, very profitable. It outsources everything it manufactures. It doesn't do anything. Capital is supposed to take that money and invest it into machines and factories, and they don't. Foxconn owns all of that, and they do all the work for Apple. And what Foxconn does very well is that it's very movable in Asia. It's got things in Vietnam and Cambodia and China and all over the place, right? And they can, okay, it's so cheaper to make this over there. They will, and they can change from here to there very quickly, and that's why Foxconn is very profitable. So they have taken manufacturing out of the hands of the manufacturers. So, you know, they're not going to be making, you know, iPhones in America ever, unless it's done by robots, and that's coming soon too. One of the reasons why, you know, all the low end work in the United States has always been done by immigrants and itinerants, right? And we have now turned in those two classes, who just work some of the time, into service workers. Walmart people at Burger King, and they only work less than 30 hours, so they don't get any insurance, they don't get any services, they don't get anything, right? And so they're working, 28 hours a week, and they are still under the poverty line. But they can't, and this was part of, Bill Clinton's great idea of, um, yep, monopolized, but beyond monopolized. Monopolies are like, oh, Mr. Rockefeller, I own all transportation of oil. Well, he split it up into the seven sisters, and he became the richest man in the world. Thank you very much. He was in his 70s, and he sold everything, and but he was still the major stockholder of those other companies, and that is what you call oligarch, right? And that's what we have in America. We have oligarchs owning everything. We don't even know who they are. We think they are, Mr. Hathaway and Mr. Microsoft and Mr. Facebook. No, those are just poster boys. The hidden hand is transnational. It's global, and all you got to do is go read the the Georgia Stones. Go online, Georgia Stones. Okay, so it's been 30. Look at that, 33 minutes and 33 seconds. So let's pray. Okay. Breathe in that 20%. Breathe out that 30%. Breathe in that prana from Father Sky. Ground it to your chi, Mother Earth. And our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. On earth as in heaven, give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, as it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without amen. And the world ain't ending anytime soon. We've had empires rise and fall, and we are just in that transitional point, right? Again, that 14 months we got going, and it's up to us to be that pebble in the pond, just to move it to the safer side of the bank. Why do you think they call banks banks? Because the safest place on the river is the bank. Um, So, the only way we can get out of this mess is not to serve fear, not to serve greed, not to serve anxiety or hate or fear or any of those things that are is the shadow of Lucifer. No, we have to serve love's co-creation. I keep talking about an alternative aesthetic. So we have to realize a new aesthetic beyond materialism. So we live in a material world. It's just like Legos. So put them together to make, starting with good thoughts, good words, good actions, good deeds, good outcomes. Today we have evil thoughts, horrible words, despicable actions, deplorable outcomes. I mean, just look at the Middle East. You know, all started with a plan for a new American century. Where we need a new Pearl Harbor. We got one, 9/11, brought to us by Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, and Israel, and Turkey. And if you dig deep enough, and it's not even that deep, right in front of you, what's going on now, like ISIS. Who paid for ISIS? But, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the CIA, you know? And, we roll into Iraq for no reason, and we put Bremer as the king there.
You know,
Hey, always good, oh, good. Stapling up more things. Oh, price tags. I like that stuff. I like that stuff.
my wife does all that.
Oh, well, tell her it's great. You know what I love about it? It's organic. It's like you can see her thoughts. Her brain is on that canvas.
Everybody's got a different view.
Yep. But I like it. How long has she been doing art?
Long time.
Long time. Were you ever an artiste? No.
Yeah, I can build.
Well, that's art.
Yeah, that's my art.
Yeah, no, that's hard. That's hard. Well, just breathe. Yes. So that's who's the guy who runs the place, his wife. That's whose stuff it is. Graham Butler. Graham, is that a YouTube channel or a Gmail or Graham? Get a hold of me at the Dude Awake 42 so you can tell me more things, or tell me here. I don't care. Jane, he at fish. Okay. Anyway, so there we are. 14 months from go watch the movie Zardos. We are 14 months to that. I don't have to explain anything more than go watch the movie Zardos. And the Sean Connery movie, I don't think it's something like Everything You Think You Know Is Wrong. And basically, it was made in '72, and it was, exactly what happened on 9/11. So if you want to know what happened on 9/11, go watch that movie. I'm going to look it up for you right now. Movies of Sean Connery in the 70s. Here they are. Mhm. Hmm. Wind of the Lions? I don't think so. Hmm. This is very strange because I remember doing this and finding it. So Zardos is here. Zardoz. Hmm. Hmm. It's very strange. It doesn't have that movie. Everything You Know Is False by movie by Sean Connery. Anyway, so there you go. There's a nice little thing. That one movie that really explains 9/11 isn't there anymore. And maybe people won't even remember it was there. Like I just was talking to that nice lady about did she remember? Anyway, so Greg, are they turning the clocks back at all?
Uh, no idea.
No idea. So
I'm sure they are.
I don't even. Do you remember when they didn't do it? No.
No,
In the 70s, with the oil embargo, they stopped doing because it saved gas and money and etc. Uh, well, that one didn't disappear. Movies by Sean Connery in the 70s. Yep, here it is, Zardos. In the future, Earth is ruled by Eternals, and advanced and secret sect of beings who reign over. No, sorry, that's not what it is. Go see that movie. It's spelled Zardoz, right? It's still there, and it isn't what this says it is. It's about a near dystopian society near 14 months from now. And this movie was made. When was this made? In 1974. 1 hour and 47 minutes. This guy didn't even watch the movie. The Eternals have created a god named Zardos to intimidate the Brutals, making them believe that killing is their nature state. However, Zed, Seem Kamre, brutal warrior leader, challenges that assumption when he enters Zardos' monument and is captured. Oh man, this movie so got it wrong. I mean, this guy's got it wrong. Like I said, I don't even think he watched the movie. And I'm sure he didn't watch the movie on acid. Because in 1974, it was really interesting. A friend of mine gave me something. I didn't realize what it was until I was in the moment and walked. We're walking all over New York, seeing amazing things, and all of a sudden, we were in a movie theater. I don't even remember buying the ticket, and so Yeah. So, Zero, what drugs are you on? Yeah, Great Centenny. That was my dad, but he didn't fly airplanes. He just wore the uniform. And he didn't beat us up, but he did scream and yell a lot. We didn't quite have the physical violence. So anyway, oh, I wrote all these things that I wanted to talk about. Hmm. So everything's scripted. There's nothing live on television. You know, you know, you have to hand it to uh, Kelsey Gabbard, you know, Congresswoman from Hawaii, and the media is like calling her a puppet of Syria and Russia, and here she is, a person who's a congresswoman and a major in the army who still is serving. You know, yeah, I like that movie a great deal. But all these movies, they don't quite get to the real point. They're at a place of dealing with just the action, but not what caused it. Not all of the players behind, not the hidden hand. Why this is going on, why that's going on. Why was he even in Vietnam? You know, after World War II, that movie. I was going to talk a lot about Kennedy. So, you know, what we're experiencing now goes back to the Spanish Civil War and before it's the U.S. Civil War. U.S. Civil War was started not by any slavery. It was started by banks in Europe because they were pissed that they lost the United States. They wanted to take it over. Best way to take something over is not from without, but from within. Right? Get the brothers fighting each other. And that's what we got now. We got this tribalized politics. We're no longer Americans. We're all these different tribes, and we're being, manipulated. And so we're heading towards, go watch the movie or the TV show, The Man in the High Chair, or where the Nazis won and took over, West Coast taken over by Japan, East Coast taken over by Germany, and kind of that's what happened, just a little bit different. Wag the Dog, yep, that's a good movie too. Yep. Alan, you're like me. I kind of had my worldview is through the cinema. Highlander, yeah, I like that. That was good. And that's Highlander has a nice reference towards what our soul is, what those guys did, but, they got to stay in the same body. We reincarnate over and over and over and over again because we're just here. There is one consciousness, the universal conscious, right? And that's like what everything that dark matter is, which is 99.9% of everything. Just about 1 point something percent is what we think it is, what our limited senses can, pick up on. And we reference everything through our prejudice of what we believe through our senses. So we're kind of screwed, you know. So the Civil War was started by European banks, and the only thing that saved America was Russia. Russia came to our aid, put its navy right on the east coast, so the English and French pirates couldn't keep attacking, and they lent the North, $100 million in gold, which is now billions or trillions of dollars in gold, and what we have spent on the Defense Department since 1947 is 7 times more than all the gold in the world. Right? And we just keep putting it on a credit card. And that's why um, Nixon had to go up to gold standard and had to basically give all of the land of America to the banks. And that's why he invented the EPA and all the environmental stuff to like keep development down. And we're going to double digit that with global warming and the severe weather things we're having, which will cause everyone to move off the coast and move into highly dense um, cities, very similar to the cities that China has built that no one's living in, right? And a number of my sources say that when they take America, they're going to basically stick everyone in those cities and stick, you know, augmented reality goggles on their head. And that's what's going to happen what's happening in Hong Kong was scripted. Guys, these people, why do they go along with, you know, China for the last 20 something years? And then all of a sudden, hey, no. And it's a small group of paramilitary people who keep, rock and sock 'em with the cops and causing violence. And basically what they're going to stick is everyone in Hong Kong, they're going to stick augmented goggles on them and they're going to be in their new reality and they're going to be happy. It's just a product test. That's all Hong Kong is a product test. Man in the High Castle. Yep. Yep. Philip K. Dick was my man. He Logan's Run, that's a Philip K. Dick book. And the most recent one that came out 10 or so years ago, the guy who played Obi-Wan Kenobi was um, yep. Yeah, I went to see 2001 when I was 19. When did I come out? 60, 69? I was 19. Yep. I think I actually was in London when I saw that movie. So that had an even extra. London, that's a great town. Too bad it's no longer the town. It's like New York City and London and San Francisco. What other cities that I live in that I'm really sad to see that they're no longer that way anymore. Lots of, Jamaica, I can't go back to Jamaica. There are a lot of places I can't go back. It's just so sad to see what has become of, like Negril. Negril was like heaven. There's no electricity, no running water. You couldn't, there was no road there. You had to walk, they let you off at the end of this path and you had to walk in. And Mrs. Brown owned everything. She was a a poet queen. She ran the play, and I was her pool boy. Albert Pike, yes, he started. The Illuminati, but that's just advertising money. The hidden hand. He started the Scottish Irish Rite of the Masons, but he's a much deeper guy than him because the people he followed, those guys were deep, beyond Luciferians. They served the demon gods, the reptilians, Nephilim, and all the other folks. Stephen, whatever his name is, he's on Coast to Coast a lot. He's a real super duper Christian. But his information is really spot on about all of those races and how it's all the hierarchy of it. He's very good. So is David Icke. Um, and all these guys are very good, but they have their own little ideological bent. Now, I like David better because he's all about, forget everything except loves co-creation. He doesn't use that term, but he so will. I mean, he's all the terms I use, I didn't invent. I've just been using them before anybody around here has been using them. And then they pick them up. And that's what it is to be a little pebble in the pond. I don't need to be in the spotlight. I need to be there because I serve Love's Co-Creation. If Love's Co-Creation needs me in front of the spotlight, I'm there. You know, I'm ready to go work for Amazon or Google or, because, I work for people who are even nastier than those guys. And those people, they're people of Google and Facebook and Amazon and at all those folks, Steven Spielberg, I worked for the people they serve, you know. And I only did it because I wanted to study with people who were truly amazing, who worked for them, you know. So, and all I did was read books and write things about them the way I would want to write about them, right? And out of my writings, you've read my writings, you can see I have a style unto my own, but based on, some really classic older guys, like Homer and Euclid, Mr. Geometry, and all the poet bards of Greece, Athens, Samaria. So, are you still breathing that 20%? Are you there in state? You ready to go see uh, the old crone? Okay, I'm going to get some more hot coffee. Look at the art. Okay. So, everyone's in good state. And I want you to visualize the prana coming in, filling your lungs, taking that photonic energy and bring it through the red blood cell into your through your heart to every cell of your body, and you watch the mitochondria unzipping the RNA right in there. That is the internal doorway into your imaginary mirror, right behind your eyelids, where you have your dreams, where you can illuminate your subconscious mind, which is simply your Akashic record. See it clearly. And as you walk into your Akashic record, the big fireplace of the universal flame is there. Nice lounge chairs, your reading table, the photonic light. Right? See, this is incandescent light. See how there's shadow? Photonic light, no shadows. And to your left is your librarian, your animal totem, and your guardian angel. Your librarian brings you the information, anything that you see in your Akashic record that you don't understand, your animal totem's there to tell you a story. It's your griot, your personal griot. I, your sensei, Al Bob, is griot to all. Your animal totem is griot to you. And your guardian angel's got your back. So you can be informed. Most people don't want to know about stuff because it freaks them out. Your animal, your guardian angel is there to guard you. You never have to worry. You have faith in love's co-creation. I mean, I've died 6 times. I've been in some of the most harrowing war zone craziness places, and I survived. So here we are, and at the right-hand side is the 9 doorways. The one that's always open goes to your personal superconscious mind, sanctuary of your own choosing. See it clearly. I'm now going to count from 1 to 3. You're going to go deeper and deeper and deeper in the state of conscious relaxation. Your conscious mind, the metal cage that your squirrel is in, that keeps you anxious and fearful and stupid. That squirrel is going to sleep 3% more and 30% out. And that's why people have a hard time with with meditating, because they don't realize all you got to do is breathe 20% in. They think it's some more hokey mystic thing than that. No, just breathe 20% in more and out. Akashic record is your subconscious mind. It is where it's the record of your soul, everything you've ever done, all your reincarnations. So you can go there just by breathing that 20% in, illuminating yourself through the prana, and watching, the mitochondria illuminate the cell, open it up. There it is. You travel to your imaginary mirror. That's right behind your eyelids. That's where you have REM sleep. That's where you dream. People, scientists, brain scientists, still don't know what dreaming is. What dreaming is you travel to your higher states of consciousness. And they don't want to talk about these things because it liberates the individual. And that's why the scholastic world was invented, to imprison the average individual. That's why most of you can't do well in school. You're anxious about it because you're not robots. So you can go into your Akashic record and get any kind of information you want. Steve Quayle, that's right. Boy, Alan, you, like I said, you read, you're on the same beam I am, guy. So, Alan, what can you tell the gang here about the Akashic record? No, I'm still here. And I don't see all the things here look like I'm still here. Gang, am I still here? Here, let's try something here. Still here. I'm there, Bob. Okay, I'm still here. So you sit down at your reading table, and the librarian brings you this big book, Akashic record, right? Boom, opens up, and there's 2 blank pages. You put your right hand on the right page, left hand on the left page, and you lean into it and you evacuate all of the fear, all of the anger, all of the anxiety, all the self-loathing, all the things you hate, you put in that book. Close the book, open it up, and now it's on a screen, like a TV screen, a movie screen, little screens all around it. And you can see, you now have a perspective. This crap is out of you, you've eliminated it, and you are saying, "Oh, wow, look, that's why I did that." And this is what Freud was doing with psychoanalysis. But why need some other moron to tell you what you already know? Just go look at your Akashic record. Everything can be remote viewed, right? Because we are just one consciousness, you know, love's co creation. So, uh, and it's like if you have a laptop, if you're on the internet, if you have a smartphone, Google knows everything what you're doing. It doesn't matter. All of this is an illusion, right? So, the bottom line is we are navigating through the material world. We can have anything we want, just visualize. Like, I've had all kinds of amazing lives in this life, right? And I know relatively soon, um, the powers that be are going to knock on my door and say, "Okay, buddy, we're giving you a choice you can't refuse." And I'll be glad to say, "Sign me up," because there's only one thing you can serve, and that's love's co-creation. Everything else is an illusion. It's low. That's why we have so many religions, because they're all flow. There isn't any true religion. All those religions started with somebody who was kind of cool, who kind of twigged on this, understood this. And then when he was trying to tell folks, they either nailed them on a cross or did something to them. And then, the powers that shouldn't be decided to rebrand them as, Muhammad or Jesus or Vishnu or whatever. And all those guys was the same thing. Love's co-creation. So there is the doorway that goes over your id. That's the bridge from your subconscious mind, your superconscious mind, your id. And in that's your sanctuary of your own choosing. You can do whatever you want there. And there are many things. There's our house, know thyself. There is the gazebo, which is a elevated stage, but you see things played out in front of you to get understood. And you're on the meadow. You can have a picnic meadow, and then there's a pond over there with the two trees: the tree of life, the tree of knowledge. And through the roots, you can travel to any place you want to go through the back door, because the other 8 doors have locked on them, and you really can't or shouldn't go through those doors without a guide. Right? And our house, Oracle of Delphi, know thyself, big doorway going in, and it's the Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water House in Pennsylvania, but a really big one, and to fit everybody in. We all have our own lodge there. We all have the Hedgerow Longhouse, which is the longhouse where we can all talk freely together.
It's pretty adorable.
And
What are you doing, Steve?
so,
Down the door?
well, the canary in a cage is, you got to, put on the coal mine of humanity, and that's a mixture of Freud and Jung and Plato. Plato's cave, right, where everybody's chained so they can only look one way, and so people who are stuck are the canary in the coal mine. And why do they bring canaries in the coal mine? Because they were a lot more sensitive than humans were. So when there's gases and things that would gonna kill humans, but not, you know, just yet, the canary would keel over. So that's why guys like John are perfect canaries in the coal mine. They're so sensitive. They're so real in their surreality. They are, you know, all you got to do is go watch his videos. I mean, they are really brilliant. You know, really strangely brilliant, right? But so strangely brilliant that the average character, individual, can identify with John, right? And are somewhat scared by John, or somewhat put off by John, or embarrassed by John, or annoyed by John. Right? Where I could empathize with John and be his friend. And what's sad is that John has, you know, for now anyway, cut me adrift, and that's okay. You know, I'm really, it's much more enjoyable to live out in the middle of the woods under a tarp in a box than live with him because he's, he can be. You watched, and he's taken all those videos down. We probably did close to, I don't know, 50 to 100 videos together, and there's probably maybe 5 or 6 that he's hooked up because he can't stand hearing the feedback where people's telling him to shut up and just let me talk. He can't stand the fact that people were much more enamored with my stories than what he does, even though he's the most brilliant, whatever. And again, that's why he represents the canary because all the folks, Donald Trump is a canary in the coal mine, most stable genius, really, you know. So, so, uh, oh, Asperger's. No, he's got a lot more other things. John does, I used to be a shrink and I stopped being a shrink because I hated putting people in a box. People don't deserve to be in a box, or a cage or anything else, But they are individuals. What John has is a plethora of neuroses, right? And he wears them like T-shirts. So, um, and kids, I have to tell you something. When I was a youngster, so I was sick for the first 10 years of my life. I mean, I was really sick. Oh, I was in the hospital 3 or 4 times a year for 10 years. And those doctors were morons. The first time I died was being born by pure incompetence. And the only reason I survived, there was one doctor there, a woman, who pushed the morons out of the way and said, I'm taking care of this. And she got in a lot of trouble for saving my mother's life, but she was the best. So, that's part of the problem is that people let themselves be put in a box. So, because of how sick I was, I had a lot of other issues, right? I stuttered and, my brain just worked faster than, and I could read really well. Couldn't read out loud because when I was reading, so I was like already turning the page while I was still on the first word of this page. So I couldn't really read out loud. And I stuttered because teachers, what are you, stupid? I hate that word. And they give me an IQ test. Oh, no, this guy ain't stupid. He's like past the top of the chart. So then I was worse. Oh, he's a stable genius. And so, it was difficult to navigate that. And again, I would come across a bully a monster, and I wouldn't know any better, and I would get beat up or you know killed, or and it wouldn't stick, so it frustrates them even more. Uh, so all of these titles or boxes that the powers that should be try to put people in, it's just to sell drugs. And this whole term, "Doctor, heal thyself." And we can heal ourselves. I mean, we often need help, like me. I had to go. I ended up dead in a plate of spaghetti, and I needed to go find myself a bunch of doctors who would help me out. But it took me a year to find the right doctor. And then when John threw me out, and I had to move 200 miles away and live in a forest under a tarp, I had to find doctors around here. Well, this is like not really an affluent neighborhood. So the closest doctor to me is 50 miles away. And most of the doctors around here are morons and overcharge you. And, give you a prescription, oh, you broke your leg, here's some Oxycontin, walk it off, get addicted. So, Asperger's, what is Asperger's? It's you don't have certain filters. So you say things that most people are thinking but don't say. That's Asperger's. Is that what you do, Jane? Yep. Yep. That's why I think they call them a hidden hand. Same thing with the truth. But truth is right in front of you. So pretty much black holes are everywhere. Therefore you see them, Jane, because you don't have, the scrimshot to keep you from seeing it, So anyway, I'm going to get some more hot water. Enjoy the art. I'll be right back. Oh well. I'll be right back. Hey, buddy. You men having a good day? What are you guys working on? Concrete?
Yeah.
Tell by the boots.
No,
I've done it before. Yeah. It's not so bad when it's warm out.
Yeah, we'll be here all night.
Oh, I hate it.
I'd say I'll be back up here in the morning.
How many yards you got?
Yeah.
Oh. I hope you're getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
That's good.
I hope so too.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yes. And paid well, not just paid.
You never know, really. Nowadays.
Yes, you could be working for Donald Trump.
Hey, baby.
No. I work for that guy. I used to be an electrician in New York.
I don't know. He seems all right to me.
Well, what he is, he's an actor.
He does a good job.
That's what he does. He does a good job. Why do you think he had that TV show, The Apprentice? He was apprenticing to be the apprentice, the president.
What I like about him, I've worked there since he's been
What?
I have worked ever since he's been president.
Well, that's good.
I mean,
Right.
it
But
was close.
it's not so much him. It's a cycle of things. But the bottom line is, All that really matters is if you care about somebody, that you love them.
Oh, yeah.
That's all that matters. That you are good to yourself and everybody around you. That's all that matters.
You're right there, buddy.
Yep. All the rest is, eh. I mean, I'm living on $300 a month. I don't buy much. I have a strict don't buy anything policy. But breakfast, I come here. Instead of paying for heat there, I let them warm me up and have hot water. And they got good Wi-Fi. I can talk to the rest of the world. Anyway. Yeah. I have to come here to just get online. Yeah.
I bet you'll find one over here.
This is like the community center. Uh-huh. Truth is never hidden. It's just ignored. So, back to the magic bullet. That's the bullet that went through Kennedy, took a left turn, went through the governor of Texas, then went up the back of his neck and then got him in the head. That was a magic bullet. And it was a pristine bullet. It didn't have any marks on it. They found it in the gurney that, like, it fell out of Kennedy's head. But Kennedy, you have to realize where Kennedy came from. Kennedy came from a gangster family. And they were really, really powerful, really, really rich. And Jack was, he was like me. He was the sick one. Joe was the football star, the good-looking one, but he died. He was assassinated. And so Jack, his PTO 109 got run over by a Japanese destroyer. Not, he wasn't on any secret message. He was going to another island to go get laid. And he was zipping through the backwaters, and the Japanese boat just ran him right over. Didn't even see him. His boat was made out of plywood. Their boat was made out of steel. So he was, right? And yeah, he saved his buddies. He's a righteous dude. But it totally screwed him up. And he was sick to begin with. So when he came back, he was messed up. So the war wasn't quite over. And so he went to work. He was still in the Navy. And he went to work for this entity that's somewhere between State Department and the Defense Department, right? And he worked for the guy who was the secretary of the military. And they didn't call it the Defense Department. Yeah, they called it righteously what it was, the War Department. So Rector got him that, and he was getting up to they already knew the war was over. Japan, the B-29s were already obliterating Japan, and Japan couldn't even get a fighter up high enough to attack the 29s, and LeMay was just fired after he firebombed the German towns that had no, like Dresden, it was a toy factory. It made no military anything. And the U.S. Air Force left it alone because they wanted a number of test subjects. They wanted to try out this firebombing thing, right? Because they were going to use it on Japan. And so they knew the war was over. It was just a matter of time that these two powers would collapse. And so within the structures of those two things were other elements, just like in our, Jane's talking about hidden stuff. Within our government, there are all these different factions. Now, they all belong to some element of the hidden hand, or, and that's like what people call the deep state. and or the powers that shouldn't be, and that's more like the Chamber of Commerce. And so, you know, again, movies, Captain America, the Marvel films really do hail Hydra. That's exactly what happened. Germany was bombed into the Stone Age, and the Nazis won. Operation Paperclip brought back, the Winter Soldier. You watch that movie, it tells the straight up story of what it is, and that's what it is. So that's a hidden hand. Hail Hydra, right? But there are other elements above them. So there Jack was, and so he worked for the guy. And that guy was pushed out of a 16-story window. So, so the Nazis and the SS and this other entity that the Red Skull, Hail Hydra, there's a different name for it, and the general is different, but it's the same story. And so they were, and they knew, once they didn't take England and they went into Russia. That's when anybody who was smart knew what it was. And once they saw that somebody was giving the hierarchy, Adolf and the boys, meth and heroin and all these other crazy drugs, that they knew, okay, we have to have our exit strategy for ourselves, and that's what they did. So they doubled down on, you know, using slave labor and building a whole new technology. And they kept the war going for another 2 years because, once um, Germany invaded Russia, and Russia just pulled back, pulled back, pulled back, pulled back. And the Germans came in the spring and they were wearing shorts and tennis shoes. And they got to, one of the cities and that's where the Russians had built their line. And they were stopped. And the ego of Adolf wanted to blow right through that city, but they couldn't. The winter came and half the army died. And it stayed there another 3 years and the whole army died. So they had about 3 years. So the only way they kept the Russians at bay was the Germans invented the atomic bomb way before we did. And so they weren't using cyclotrons to isolate uranium 235 or having lots of reactors in Hanford. They were doing it with heavy water and lasers. Right? I mean, their technology was so ahead of ours. And their understanding of all of this was boxes. Everyone hasn't used to me calling them by their first letter of their name. Anyway, so I urge you to go watch more of these YouTubes, and because there's a lot of information on there, and I've already told this. And the wars were just a way to manifest the capital, right? And still neo liberal mentality of a global. And so Kennedy went with this guy after the war was over and talked to all these scientists and got them, into America under Operation Paperclip, and then spread them all over, send them to South America, send them to Australia, and also make deals with the Russians. There was this German general who was in charge of the Russian front's intelligence, and he had done some really nasty things, and he turned himself in and said, listen, you guys are going to need somebody. He talked to Wild Bill Donovan of the OSS and said, hey, you're going to need somebody to fight the Russians. And Donovan he didn't like the Russians either. So he put him in charge, and he put him in charge of all European intelligence, right? And this guy just kept sending about, oh, Russia's a big threat. Oh, you got to worry. Oh, and the General Dynamics and Boeing and those guys loved it because they were getting contracts with fighters and bombers. So this is how it works. And that's why we have this window of opportunity. You know, if all of you guys go get your friends to watch this, give me thumbs up, send me some money in my the due to wake 42 at Gmail, my PayPal account. Um, Come and visit me and take me to some warm place. Brittany, please send me an airplane ticket to come to Hawaii. We can start a circus there. I'm sure there are a lot of groovy people who would love to change the world. Anyway, I like Paley, the goddess of Hawaii. I was there twice, and I was at the Big Island, and I went there to stay at a oh, there's this not quite a hospital, it's kind of a retreat with people who have what's the disease where you just kind of disintegrate. Anyway, and I went there, studied organic food healing. Uh, Brittany. Well, Brittany, we don't really know where the old crone is, but you can go see her. All you have to do is meditate, go into state, go to her, you know, and there are at least 5 to 20 uh, videos on my channel, Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Go back and look. The one thing I've never done is put righteous names to anything. I did that on purpose, so you'd have to go look at these things because they're all individually special. But if you just think, I'm sure your dad or somebody in your family has a dartboard or a bar, and you throw darts at the dartboard and you get three numbers. So I have almost 700 shows if I don't have more than that. And if you think about, I want to know about the crone and throw a dart, it'll hit the right number. You go look at that show. And if you go in state, and virtually every show that I did, that I took you to see the old crone, I put you in state. And pretty much every show I do shamanically. So you can go into state. So that's where I'm at. Hour and in about a minute and a half, I'm going to sign off. But I'll finish JFK. So JFK saw all of this. And he kind of said, okay, talk to his dad. How are we going to leverage this? Power, money, blah, blah, blah. You're going to have the president. So he does. By that time, his health is terrible. He's taken he had his own doctor called Dr. Philgood. He was taking steroids and you name it, he was taking it. And he's, I just stuff LSD. Why don't you try that? And so Jack, and he's having sex with Marilyn Monroe and every other girl. And everyone loves him. So he basically decides he's going to step out of the. He became president because he agreed to follow the script. And so that's why, because it's this movie with Matt Damon called The Adjustment. Go watch that. Have a good day, man. And so and it's about how the higher powers kind of manipulate our life.
They're everywhere. Bring mud with you.
All right. So go watch that movie. Matt Damon, The Adjustment. And Elysium. Elysium is already going on. You know, I worked on a proposal back in 73 or 4. There's a thing called L7 Society. Go look that up. And they have put gigantic colonies in space, you know, that are out there in the void. And there's 7 spots in our solar system where all the gravitational stuff is canceled out. You know, this planet against the sun and da da da. So it just stays. If you put something there, it'll stay there. And they are also kind of masked by the sun. So they have unlimited solar power. Um, it's gigantic thing like the size of the United States. Um, a lot of them were just they grabbed an asteroid and moved it because when you can control gravomagnetic forces, you just put a few little devices on a gigantic rock and it's a spaceship. Bingo! You can move it to wherever you want. You hollow the center of it out by just controlling the dark matter, and you now a gigantic void inside. And that's a vacuum. You pump in air, and now you got this nice thing the size of Connecticut, and you make it anything you want it to be. You know, any kind of environment you want it to be. So they've been doing that. They've been doing it for millions of years, and then they have wars out there, and they blow it up, and but we, the Nazis, et al., hidden hand, have been doing it since the 1840s. They just haven't been telling us. And that's where all our money's going. So, Jack got a whiff of all of this, and he was going to let the people in on it. You go watch the 5 speeches he gave before they whacked him, right? And what he was doing. He got off. He wanted to get rid of the Federal Reserve. He was going back to greenbacks. He said, had the Secretary of the Treasury print money like the Constitution says you're supposed to. Because the Federal Reserve has nothing to do with our government. It's, a privately stock held corporation. Yeah, the BTW. Everybody was involved in the Kennedy assassination. Kennedy was like a cartoon. Those cartoons where Daffy Duck becomes the metal little duck in the arcade and people are shooting, bang, 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 bang. That was Jack. And he knew they were going to whack him because he was going to die anyway. I mean, he had so many things wrong with him that he went for the gusto, right? And he knew it was like whether he was going to get shot or whether he was just going to die of all the things that were wrong with him. Now, we all end up dying of all the things that are wrong with us. And the 2 most important things is how you live your life and how you serve love's co-creation. Love's co-creation gave us this avatar and this shot at being in the sandbox. It's what we do with it, okay? Don't blame other people. We're only going to be here another week. Our beach bungalow hasn't been used in a while, even when we're here. And there isn't any electricity. Well, I have no electricity, but it's in the beach. Well, it's better than being like last night, 31 degrees. All I need is an airplane ticket to get there. And especially, you guys are in California or wherever you are. Be nice to meet up with you there, and maybe your dad or somebody in your circle take me to the beach house and hook me up so I can get around and I can get my Social Security delivered there. SunTrust Bank is there. I can be okay. So I'd love to do it. Tomorrow I'm going to do a live chat in a place that I have a phone. So, if your dad or somebody who's in charge, and you can interest them, want to talk to me, you know, then they can get a hold of me at the Due to Wake 42, and I can talk to them on that and give them my phone number, and they can call me, or they can give me their phone number. I can call them because I'm normally like now. I can't use my phone to make a phone call. I have to drive 20 miles that way. So anyway, I would love to be in Hawaii for the winter because last night was our first really cold night. Gee, did you get really cold last night? Did you get ice on the wings?
I don't know. I think so.
Because I woke up and the sun was hitting the grass and it was wet. So I said, oh,
Yeah. It might have been a little bit
frost.
last night.
Yeah.
It was Monday, I know that.
Yeah. Well, okay, gang. I'm going to say see you later. Um, Go and watch these other shows, and Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Alba. Give me some more thumbs up. Go turn more people on so I get more cadre. Go visit, Griot Publishing, X-Ray, XRATTED.blogspot.com or GRIOTTE publishing.blogspot.com. Go read my stuff. Go contact me on the Due to Wake 42 at Gmail. And if you want to put anything in on the old whatchamacallit. You know whatchamacallit. My PayPal. Some of you already have, and I want to thank you very much. And it came just in the nick of time. So I love you all, and I'll say you later. I'll see you tomorrow, right? About the same time, 11ish. Do 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 do.